This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 5th. 2 Republicans have announced they plan to run against John Boehner for Speaker of the House in the new Congress. On Saturday, Congressman Ted Yoho of Florida announced his challenge, and Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert made his announcement Sunday. In a statement, Gohmert said that the 2014 midterms made it clear voters want leadership changes in Congress, and that, quote, there have been numerous examples of problematic Republican leadership, but we were hopeful our leaders got the voters' message, and went on to cite passage of the Omnibus spending bill as a reason Congress needs new leadership. It would take 29 votes to depose John Boehner, and if Boehner does not receive a majority of votes on the first ballot, the voting would continue until a candidate does receive that majority. Voting for the Speaker of the 114th Congress will be decided on Tuesday. A 7-year-old Illinois girl is being heralded as brave after she walked nearly a mile from the site of a plane crash to get help. Sailor Gutzler was traveling home with her family when the private plane they were on crashed into a dense Kentucky forest. Gutzler's mother, father, 9-year-old sister, and 14-year-old cousin were killed in the crash. Barefoot and in the dark with temps below 40 degrees, Gutzler walked to the house of 71-year-old Larry Wilkins. Wilkins called 911 and Gutzler was taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. She sustained only minor injuries. Investigators from the FAA and NTSB are working with local law enforcement to determine the cause of the crash. New York City police officer Wen Jianlu was laid to rest Sunday with thousands of mourners paying their respects. But tensions remained between the police force and Mayor Bill de Blasio, with several officers turning their backs in protest as de Blasio eulogized Liu. This action comes as the widow of Liu and Police Commissioner Bill Bratton asked officers not to turn their backs as the mayor spoke, with Bratton saying in a written statement, quote, a hero's funeral is about grieving, not grievance. Liu's widow spoke at the funeral saying of her husband, to me he is my soulmate. Wen Jian is an incredible husband, son, co-worker, and friend, my best friend. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration shows the coldest days of the year are ahead for much of the country. The organization released a map based on 30 years of temperature data indicating the eastern half of the country can expect the coldest days of the year to fall between now and the middle of February. Forecasters are calling for bitterly cold temps and below zero wind chills for parts of the Midwest through the next week. And the sporting world said goodbye to former ESPN anchor Stuart Scott, who lost his battle with cancer Sunday at the age of 49. Diagnosed with the disease in 2007, Scott fought valiantly. In an emotional tribute, colleague and friend Rich Eisen said, quote, I loved this man. I still love this man, and the fact that he has passed away is absolutely mind-boggling and a travesty. Eisen became emotional several times during his tribute. Scott leaves behind 2 daughters, Taylor and Sydney. This is Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 5th.
VLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
2 minds are better than one. Time for the right mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Well, welcome to the show. This is the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. Happy New Year. If you're like most Americans, you are now back on your normal schedule, back to work. The holidays are behind, and things are moving forward. We have a fun announcement today because Mike and I basically have so much to say and have had so little time to do it. We are expanding from a 90-minute show to a 120-minute show, and that was over Mike's objections. He actually wanted to go to a 480-minute show, and I wasn't sure we could maintain interest for that long. What's up, brother? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man. Did you have a good one?
I did have a good one. I had a really good one. In fact, for the first time, I think the last 2 years, I fell asleep before we got to New Year's. This year, I was up, and because I'm, young, hip, and modern, I watched the ball drop via streaming web as opposed to broadcast television.
Really? Well, that's nice. I actually watched the Fox News coverage of the deal. I get a kick out of you know Beckel, right? Bob Beckel on the Fox.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Guy's a complete teddy bear. He's liberal as the day is long. But anyway, that was my deal. I did watch it on television, so I'm impressed. So, Jessica.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Tell us what you did, please. Leave out the gory details.
Gory details. I actually stayed home and I watched it on the internet as well. The ball drop.
What?
Now, so you watched the Rockin' New Year's Eve one or whatever?
Yeah, I watched
the real one.
Yeah, the one with Ryan Seacrest now.
With Ryan Seacrest now, that's right.
Oh, my God. Howsam, I didn't need to know that. That's TMI. Listen, why'd you guys do that? Because multitasking, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it was for me. I just, and also we didn't have a cable where I was, so internet worked.
So Howsam, you probably had Twitter open and 400 other sites, and you were just going back and forth, or what?
No, we were watching a movie. I mean, Twitter is always up on my iPhone 6 Plus, which I now love so much I can't even explain it. So what I did is we were streaming on Netflix, and then I just paused it, opened a new window, and this was at like 11:55. And because I wanted to see what channel it was and was going to run out to the television and turn it on, and it said stream it live. So I clicked that link. We watched about 60 seconds of countdown. I had to have the screen identify Jenny McCarthy because she's had either so much plastic surgery or has just undergone such a dramatic physical change I couldn't identify her.
Let's go with A on that.
Yeah. And then so 4, 3, 2, 1, a couple of big kisses. Enjoying finished off a nice bottle of Moet Chandon champagne, and probably 30 seconds later turned it off. So I streamed that whole thing for, I'd say, 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
At most.
Pardon me.
I said I did notice that Taylor Swift was darling. She was on stage, I believe. I
think she's cute, and a lot of women don't.
Really? I think she's cute.
Are they the type of women that say, oh, women like that who are focused on thinness and beauty are more concerned about outside appearance than who you are on the inside? Are they that types?
I always think there's a little jealousy because obviously she's cute. She's different looking, but no, and did she have a rockin' year or what? That transition from country to pop music, she's the largest seller in the country last year. Listen, the family Miller, we stayed home as well, busted out a couple of Omaha steaks, drank some beer. I don't go the champagne route, although my wife does. But had a couple Stellas, maybe a few more than a couple. And then, listen, I want to ask you about a movie, and I understand that I'm about to open myself up, as if I need to open myself up for comments about my age. But so I'm flipping through I don't remember where I was doing it. I think just on cable pay-per-view thing. And Jersey Boys. You have no idea, right?
Oh, of course I know what Jersey Boys is. I haven't seen the
Broadway,
movie,
big Broadway musical.
right?
4 seasons.
I had to explain to my kids. We watched the 4th of July thing in that was in D.C. and whatever show we were watching, Frankie Valli was on, and he lip synced to a couple of his old songs. And I'm like, yeah, guys, you heard of that movie, The Jersey Boys? And Jack's like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. I thought it was great. I go, well, that's the guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I mean they were huge, in the 60s, Sherry and Big Girls Don't Cry and all that stuff. And then if you see the movie, I mean, there was a lot of crap going on in the background between them. And they finally, as many bands do, they split up. And he had a down period for a while. And then he came back and he had a couple of hits solo. But my senior year of college, 4 of us went to Fort Lauderdale from Muncie, Indiana, straight through except to eat and obviously go to the bathroom and stuff. We just took turns driving. That car never smelled the same again, by the way. But anyway, one night we went out to this bar. It was called Bachelor's 3. So we walk in and I'm hearing this sound, this voice. I'm thinking, man, that sounds familiar. That guy does an excellent Frankie Valli. Well, it was Frankie Valli, and he was one of the bachelors along with Joe Namath, and I don't remember who the other one was that actually owned that bar at the time. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Oh, that's very funny. You know what? On the topic of movies, and obviously we can get to politics and other stuff. A couple things. I'll give you some input. Have you ever heard of a movie with Nicolas Cage that was called Joe?
No.
Have you, Jessica, heard of this movie?
Not at all.
All right. Well, it was it was recommended to me twice. It was recommended via Netflix. They have that, I don't know, whatever algorithm, because you liked this, you'll like that. Also, I'd seen a trailer for it on, I don't know, one of the some indie movie that I saw, and I thought, oh, this would be interesting. Nicolas Cage, and I'd forgotten. Nicolas Cage, like Matchstick Men, is one of my very favorite movies. Nicolas Cage, Family Man, one of my very favorite movies. Nicolas Cage has put forward some amazing performances, right?
Totally. I love Family Man. That was actually, nobody's heard of that, so that's cool.
Oh, it's a great movie. Well, I'd forgotten that Nicolas Cage puts out a movie about every 12 days.
No kidding.
And almost all of them are just unbelievably forgettable. And it wasn't until I was about 12 minutes into this movie, Joe, realizing, okay, yeah, this is another one of those. So if you ever hear of or get recommended to see Nicolas Cage's movie, Joe, run for the hills. And then another movie that I saw a little bit last night, a little bit on Saturday night. Danny and I watched it over 2 nights that I hadn't seen that was absolutely huge was Silver Linings Playbook.
I've heard of it.
You've seen that movie, Jess?
Yeah, that's an awesome movie.
Oh my gosh! Well, it was it was really good. It's with Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro. And then at the end of the movie, I realized David O. Russell directed, produced it, and wrote it. And he's the same guy that did American Hustle last year. That was my favorite movie of the year.
We need to just on a regular basis do kind of a Siskel and Ebert thing. And of course, that would be Housem and Jane, and I could listen. But
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because
you
don't have any idea what we're talking about.
Housem, listen, no, dude, I did do something yesterday. That is my custom to do this time of year. And, I realized it's something that you are very rarely able to do, even living in Southern California.
Okay.
You ready?
I have like 4 jokes I was going to make, but I'll just defer. Well, that's
All
fun.
right, listen, one more thing before we get to, I don't know how serious we ever are, but to serious stuff or politics or whatever we're going to talk about today, I have a question for you.
Okay.